I'm here with Alexandra Daddario, star of Baywatch, on the last ever interview with your Baywatch junket.
That's right. That's right.
My God, what a journey.
I
2
know.
months of being asked pretty much the same question over and over again.
Yes, and we've been traveling for a solid 3 weeks, and it's, when you go all over the world and go through this whole process of the movie coming out, and it feels a lot longer than it's been. So I feel like I've been away from home for a very long time.
Massive deja vu as well.
Yes.
Now that all the interviews are over and after months of chat, I've got to ask, what are the questions that you could just quite happily never hear again, that you've been asked so often?
I mean, I think I'm happy to be asked the typical questions that's part of promoting
Diplomacy,
a film.
good.
Well, it's true. Yeah. I mean, it's not that big of a deal when you think about the fact that I get to do what I love, that I have to answer questions about Zac's abs or about what it's like to diet. I mean, those are the questions you hear a lot, but, as far as a job goes, that's not that bad. It's kind of cool.
Good. It fits. As well as Baywatch, you're starring in adaptations of We Have Always Lived in the Castle, which is a super cult novel,
yes.
And you're in the Percy Jackson films.
Yes.
What is it like starring in something that has had such a really much loved previous life?
I think We Have Always Lived in the Castle is very different than something like Baywatch or even Percy Jackson, because I think Percy Jackson is huge all over the world, but it's targeted towards a very specific audience of young people. And I actually wasn't aware of it when I booked the film because I was a little too old to have read the books. But there's a great responsibility, I think, when you're making any big adaptation, especially to a book, to do it justice. And people love the story so much that it's very important to try to make people, you want to tell a story that people understand, and that does the book justice. With Baywatch, I think we were able to sort of have our own take on it, because it's a TV series that I think people loved, but don't take as seriously, in the sense that there's a lot of things about it that seem ridiculous now that we're able to poke fun at lovingly and, make into something raunchier and a little bit different.
I loved it. I literally laughed all the way through it, really tragically, whilst my husband was going, oh God, at all the cringe and hiding magically.
Yes.
But I grew up with it, loads of my friends did. I grew up watching it with my family, and I loved the insane storylines. Did you ever watch it at all, and did you have a favourite?
I never watched it, but I knew exactly what it was, just because it's Baywatch.
Yeah.
And Pamela Anderson, and David Hasselhoff.
And the theme tune and all the music
and
everything.
Yes, you know it, and you hear about their lives and who they're dating and what parties they're going to, and you grow up sort of knowing who these people are and knowing that Baywatch is, something that it's like a crime show on the beach, and it's a sexy crime show. And so I watched some episodes in preparation for the movie, and some of the episodes are completely off the wall.
Yes, I hope you were drunk whilst watching them. It's the best way.
No, it's not the best way. I'll have to do that. But I think that's what makes this movie also, you can make the movie off the wall.
Yeah.
Because they took these scenarios very seriously when making the show, and then we were able to poke fun at that.
Well, Zac certainly took the Baywatch physique to new extremes. Who do you think had the tougher job of getting ready for the shoot, the boys or the girls?
I think, Zac, his whole thing was very interesting, because he actually made this character choice to build this athlete who was very self-involved and, quite frankly, a douchebag. And his character choice was to get this body that is insane, and that was sort of his choice as far as his own vanity, his own arrogance, his own insecurities, trying to cover it up by the way he looked. So he went crazy with the tanning, and the hair was ridiculous, and the abs were not normal person abs, because I think that was a character choice, and I was really quite impressed by his dedication to his role and really building this character. So I think that he took it to another level. I think that the girls, we worked really hard, and there was some pressure, but I think that we had actually maybe not easier. It was just different.
Yeah.
It was just a different level of.
Well, it looked amazing, but it was so funny. And that was the thing that I really loved about it, because it was
Yes.
just like, yes, we all look absolutely banging, but also just the jokes are endless. It's absolutely fantastic.
Right. And I think that was one of the great things about this movie, was being on set and being able to have ridiculous things come out of your mouth and then have them end up in the film.
That was the best. We were talking in our Hey It's Okay podcast the other day about that thing that can be so difficult to find, which is like body confidence on the beach and that sort of thing. What's your philosophy about this mythical beach body?
I think, I think it's hard as a young woman, I never anticipated my career would go this way, where I'm like a Baywatch babe or somebody who's considered, very sexy in the kinds of roles that I do. And I think that I'm in my 30s now, and I think that as I've gotten older, I've found more confidence in who I am and how I look. And I think that that's something that you just learn through life. And if I can say to any young women or young men, I think that being yourself is the best thing that you can be. And I think that we always try to sort of fit in or be something else. And my best advice is to try to find confidence and love who you are. It doesn't always work, but I think that that's the main thing I've found now in my early 30s is sort of, okay, I'm not the same as everybody else, my personality or my sense of humor, but I'm okay the way that I am, and I'm happy with who I am.
How do you cope with the kind of scrutiny that comes from just being an actress, full stop? I mean, you've been in this game for over a decade, and I was doing my usual, God, I'm interviewing somebody today, panic Googling this morning, and the first stories that came up were just like, Alexandra Daddario does a nip slip at Berlin premiere and that sort of thing. How do you deal with this crap?
I think that I've never considered myself famous. I've considered myself a working actress. So I think on this press tour, I've dealt with more scrutiny than I have before. And it's challenging. It's definitely difficult. It's interesting you should mention that thing, because I found, I did see that and found it to be, I was at first horrified. But then, you talk to people and it's like every time somebody wears something that's the headline. And, I think that I'm going through this process of learning from my mistakes. And
You haven't made a mistake by wearing an outfit.
I wouldn't say it's a mistake. I would just say sort of figuring out who I am. And it's a very interesting thing to have people look at everything you do and try to find a headline for it.
I mean, that's the thing.
So I'm trying to figure out how to just deal with that, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, people do want to just put a headline to an outfit. And do you ever feel that the media feels, and obviously I count myself in that as I am a journalist, do you feel that the media can get away with more just before you have the audacity to wear a swimsuit on screen?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think that people are, it's a combination of people looking for headlines and this sort of, there's quite a bit of hypocrisy as far as the way that women are being talked about, and the way that even that people see how women should be portraying themselves. And people feel people have different opinions about all kinds of things, and there's a million different people in the world. And my view of it is that with as far as women and equality goes, I think that the whole thing is that we have the right to choose the roles we want and to wear what we want, and there's stuff that comes along with doing Baywatch that is awkward, but also Baywatch, I don't take myself too seriously.
Yeah.
And I think everybody has a good sense of humor, and the whole point of Baywatch is that we're sort of in bathing suits, in great shape, running on the beach. And I
in the
think
most fantastic slow-mo.
Right, and I hope people
hilarious.
go and see the movie and laugh, and that was sort of the whole point of Baywatch.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I saw your brilliant post at the time of the Women's March, which I went to, our version here in London. And what was it like? What was it like sort of being on the set of a comedy whilst all this sort of political turmoil was going on? Was it a good distraction, or did you talk about politics on set?
Yeah, I do talk about politics, and I think you do get very involved in the world you're in. I don't know that I was on set while it was maybe right afterwards or something, but it's been a very interesting year, and I have very strong opinions that I don't, really discuss publicly. But I think that it's been an interesting year, and I'm glad that we're having the conversation. And I think, ultimately that women need to be spoken about. And it's not acceptable, like I said in my tweet, for people to speak about women the way that they're spoken about. And there's this whole idea of that's just the way it is, and the locker room talk thing. And I don't think that we need to accept that as that's the way that it is. And so that's sort of, I'm glad that we're having the conversation.
Well, in lighter news, did you pick up any tips on how to basically be a badass on Instagram from working with The Rock again? Because that man is a social media powerhouse.
He is, and social media has become so important for actors and for, people in the public eye and for promoting films. And he's really taught me, I think, now doing my second film with him, how you can use it as a positive tool. And, when I'm promoting a film, I promote a film, and then I love to use it to tweet and Instagram photos of my dog, who I think is the cutest dog in the world. So I think it can be a really fun thing, and then also a very good tool. And I do sort of look and see what things work and what don't, but I think there's a very smart way to use it.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously you're going to act again with The Rock. Is it third time for San Andreas too?
It would be my third time.
Amazing. Does your relationship on set sort of change depending on the type of movie? Do you have more laughs when it's more serious? Do you take it more seriously when it's a comedy? How is it?
I mean, yes, but every movie that you do is, for San Andreas, it's more dramatic, and I think you have to keep, I'm a big believer in, no matter what film you're making, that you should keep the set light, and you have to take things seriously when it's time to take things seriously, but also you want everyone to be having a good time and feel like they're part of something where you can sort of be yourself and joke around, and then we know when it's time to be serious. So I think for Baywatch, we were able to make more penis jokes and be more ridiculous, and we had the freedom to really bring our own senses of humor to the roles.
Oh, I love it. So you've basically been in athlete mode for the last 2 years, probably more. How are you going to unwind now that the tour's over?
I did a couple of films in between Baywatch and promoting Baywatch. One was in Dublin and one was in New Orleans, and I definitely I did some unwinding there, some drinking and some eating, because there's great food in the South and in Ireland. So I think I know when it's time to promote a film and shoot a film and what shape I need to be in, and then I'm lucky enough that I can get away with.
Oh, I just meant if you're going to catch up on Netflix, but yeah, probably that too.
Yeah. Oh, I thought everyone's diet.
No.
Now I'm going to catch up on Netflix. There's a lot of shows to see, and hang out with my dog and hike.
Yes,
and
more pictures of your dog, please.
Just relax.
Yeah. One last thing, so we're about to wrap up, but we were talking before the interview started about the problems of being very pale and having fake tan.
Yes.
You mentioned that you had your fake tan CGI'd on at one point.
The
possibly.
biggest struggle in this film was the tan. So you have someone come to your apartment twice a week to spray tan you. And then you get into the trailer in the morning and you'd still be blotchy, so they have to put makeup all over you. And at one point, just on my chest, it was just no way to cover it. So they did have to fix it in post, which is where they go through every frame and they clean it up, because it did look like I had, a condition or something. So the tanning was it was a constant thing, way more than the diet or the hair or anything else. It was the tanning.
If anybody can come and CGI me before the Glamour Awards on Tuesday, that would be totally amazing. Alexandra, thank you so much.
Thank you
this
so
is brilliant.
much.
Thank you, Facebook.
Thank
Bye.
you.